Remember when they told us that Trump's tariffs would crush the economy, that a recession was inevitable, that you, yes, you would be the one that was paying the price? Well, guess what? It's the end of July, going into August. President Donald J. Trump is back in the White House. The stock market just hit another record high. GDP is up and $600 rebate checks are being printed with your name on them. Wow, they lied. The economists, the media, the global elites, they told you that President Trump's tariff plan would collapse the economy, but instead you're getting paid and they're eating their words on live TV. So today we're going to go ahead and rip the mask off their propaganda. We're going to show you exactly how President Trump turned tariffs into refund checks and why the media is quietly panicking. Oh, and of course, how even Wall Street is admitting that they got it dead wrong. Oh, and wait until you hear what happened to General Motors, or how artificial intelligence just became Trump's secret weapon in the tariff war, and why even some Democrats are trying to claim credit for Trump's win. Yeah, you're not going to believe that. So if you're ready to expose the lies, celebrate the win, and cash your Trump tariff check, then hold your head high, guys. Buckle up. Today's video is definitely going to make your blood boil and your wallet smile. So I want to go ahead and get started. If you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. So let's talk about what the media never wanted to admit. The $600 checks, they're real. The legislation already introduced, and it's called the American Workers Rebate Act of 2025, backed directly by President Donald J. Trump and introduced by Senator Josh Hawley. Now, this is not a proposal. This isn't maybe next year. It's here. It's moving, and it's already happening right now. So here is the breakdown. $600 per person. That's right. $600 per person. Every adult, every child, every dependent. Family of 4, you're looking at $2,400. A household of 10, that's $6,000 straight to your mailbox. Is everybody okay with that? Let that sink in, guys. The same media, the same media that mocked Trump's tariff ideas, they're now silent while his supporters are literally cashing in. They swore this day would never come. They're pretending it's not happening at all. Because if you admit the bill is real, then you have to admit that Trump was right, right? And the experts, the economists, the pundits, they were dead wrong. But we're only getting warmed up because I want to really go ahead and pull the curtain back on one of the biggest economic lies of the last 5 years that they've told us. And I'm here to prove how it's a lie. Now, how many times did they say it? Trump's tariffs would wreck the economy, that this is going to collapse the middle class, right? This is going to trigger a global recession. Well, it's more than the second half of 2025. We're going into August. It's July. We're going into August. And here's the truth, guys. GDP is up. Stock market hitting record highs. Consumer confidence skyrocketed in July. And that so-called economic collapse never happened. What happened to it? Well, they told you to be afraid. They tried to scare your family, your community, so you would just turn against the very man that's fighting for your wallet. But the numbers don't lie. They do. The Atlanta Fed and the St. Louis Fed both had to revise GDP forecasts up because even the data proved Trump's policies were working. Turns out American workers didn't collapse. They thrived. And now those same talking heads are backpedaling faster than Joe Biden down a staircase. So they're scrambling to explain it away. They want you to forget their doom predictions. They want you to ignore the fact that Trump's economy is not only surviving, it's dominating. But we're not going to let them off the hook that easy, are we? All right. Now, why didn't anyone tell me? That is what one viewer said after learning that she could get dental, vision, hearing, and over-the-counter benefits for zero extra costs. She had no clue that those plans even existed up until she watched one of my videos and called Chapter. This changed everything for me. I got $150 per month in grocery benefits too. Gloria. Guys, that was a comment from Gloria. Gloria, shout out to you. Thank you so much for leaving me that comment and letting me know how well things worked out for you in Chapter. I got another comment. I'm telling everyone I know about Chapter, what a blessing. That one came from Frank. So if you've never ever had someone actually walk you through your Medicare options, this is your sign right here. You're going to see a number down below. Call that number right now, 909-563-8279, or visit Ask Chapter on the website at askchapter.org/Ron. They will help you compare plans side by side so that you don't overpay or miss out on what's yours. By the way, their service is totally free. All right. You've heard the spin that the tariffs were just a short-term play, that they couldn't sustain real gains. But the truth, Trump's tariffs are winning, full stop. In just the first half of 2025 alone, the U.S. has pulled in $113 billion in tariff revenue, $27 billion just in the month of June. And by the end of this year, we're projected to hit $150 to $300 billion. That's not theory. That is cash collected, banked, and now being paid back to you. So while Joe Biden drained the economy with inflation and war spending, Trump's using foreign tariffs to fund American families without raising your taxes. And here's the kicker. This isn't money being printed out of thin air like Biden's COVID handouts. This is revenue earned by standing up to China, the EU, and the global elites who took advantage of us for decades. Now, for years, they told you tariffs would hurt the little guy. But now you're the one that's actually getting paid. You see what's happening here, guys? And so they're the ones that are actually crying on cable news. But wait, where's the apology from the experts? Where's the retraction from the media? Where's the headline that says, you know what, guys, my bad. Trump was right. Where is all of that, right? I hadn't seen it either. So let's talk about the media silence, because it's deafening at this point. The same news outlets that said Trump's economy would implode are now, they're dead quiet. There's no apology. No, we got it wrong. Just crickets. Even the Wall Street Journal had to admit the facts in print. If tariffs are so bad, where's the recession? Exactly. Columnist Jerry Baker, he laid it out himself. GDP is growing. Core inflation is falling. Markets are soaring. And recession odds are down to 1 in 3. Guys, they act like their panic didn't dominate the headlines for like the last 2 years. They gaslit an entire nation, and now that they're exposed, they pretend like it never happened. You see, this isn't just an economic victory. This is a narrative collapse. Trump didn't just defy the odds. He rewrote the entire rule book, and they hate him for it. But hang out with me for a second here, because what you're about to hear next, this is going to explain why the rest of the world is absolutely furious, why Europe is cracking under pressure, and why President Trump's strategy was never reckless. It was brilliant from day one. So they love to say Trump governs by chaos, that his economic plan was reckless, but let's be clear. Trump didn't wing it. He outmaneuvered them. These tariffs weren't blanket taxes. They were precision-guided economic weapons, and they hit their mark. So here's what the media won't tell you. Trump's team didn't target every sector equally. He went after industries where America had leverage, and they kept critical U.S. industries like agriculture and energy protected. Meanwhile, the European Union is melting down. German and French leaders are reportedly furious behind the scenes. Why? Because the U.S. tariffs weren't symmetric. Translation, we're winning and they're losing, and they know it. So these global elites, they don't care about fairness. They care about control. And President Trump just flipped the chessboard on their entire economic model. And so now European pharma giants, they're begging to maintain access to the U.S. markets. Why? Because losing America means losing their lifeline. And that's the difference between Trump and every president before him. They negotiated from weakness. Trump negotiates from strength. And right on cue, even the critics are finally starting to admit there was never a collapse, no crash, no consumer meltdown. So let's talk about that for a second, right? Even the so-called experts, they can't ignore the truth anymore. Economists E.J. Antoni, investor Kevin O'Leary, they're saying what millions of Americans already knew. The experts were wrong, the models were wrong, and the panic was fake. Why? Because the old way of thinking, the ivory tower textbook economics, doesn't work in Trump's America. They didn't see it coming because they live in spreadsheets, not supermarkets. They don't actually talk to the working class. They don't feel what real Americans feel. And now the missing import data that they freaked out about already accounted for in the new GDP revisions. Business inventories are stable. consumer spending is strong, domestic demand is driving growth. And yet the people who push fear 24/7, they're the same ones who got it wrong every step of the way. They still have jobs. They're still on TV and they're still telling you what to believe. Not here, guys. Here we go by results, not the narratives. And so, of course, I'm going to show you how all of this pressure campaign from Trump didn't just prove the experts wrong. It forced American businesses to level up, and it triggered an AI revolution that may launch a whole new economic boom. Now, here's what the media won't tell you. Trump's tariffs didn't break American business. They forced it to evolve. Small businesses were under pressure for sure. We're not going to argue that. That's not up for debate. But unlike the elites whining on CNBC, real entrepreneurs did not fold. They adapted. And something incredible happened. Under the America First pressure, small businesses started turning to AI, not to lay off people, but to get lean, get smart, and get competitive. Investor Kevin O'Leary, who personally owns over 50 small businesses, says every single one is using AI right now. They cut costs, they use it to optimize operations, and they're using it to take back margins lost to tariffs. And you know what? It's working. We are watching in real time as American businesses reinvent themselves, not because of DEI mandates, not because of some globalist conference in Davos, because President Trump made foreign companies pay. And he made U.S. businesses fight smarter. That's the bottom line here. Elites complain, real Americans innovate. And that's really the story that nobody wants you to hear. But now I want to talk about the part that they really don't want to discuss. Because while they're essentially screaming about Trump's tariffs hurting the economy, it was Biden's inflation that nearly killed it. So let's not forget what we've already been through. Before Trump returned to office, Americans weren't worried about tariffs. They were drowning in Biden's inflation. Groceries were up double digits, gas prices, crushing commutes, home ownership out of reach for an entire generation. That wasn't because of tariffs. That was because of reckless spending, supply chain chaos, and weak leadership. President Trump didn't walk into a stable economy in 2025. He walked into a mess and started cleaning it up day one. And now, instead of printing fake money like Biden did in 2021, Trump is sending rebate checks from actual revenue earned from tariffs, not from taxes. Now, these are not random handouts. These are earned dividends from strength. You paid for Biden's mistakes. And now under President Trump, you're finally getting a piece of that recovery. And the people who caused the pain, they're furious that you're smiling. But it gets better because some of the same elites who warned about runaway inflation are now screaming, don't give the people $600 checks. Use that money instead to pay down the debt. Oh, now they care about paying off the debt, the national debt. Now, here comes the so-called deficit hawks, right? The same people who sat silent while we spent trillions of dollars on war, DEI bureaucracies, and Ukraine handouts. They're all of a sudden panicking over some $600 checks for American workers. Their new argument, they're saying, oh, we shouldn't send rebates. We need to pay down the $36 trillion debt. Oh, really? So where was all this moral outrage when Congress was rubber stamping blank checks for foreign governments? Or how about when Biden printed over $6 trillion in just 3 years? They never cared when your money was going to corporate bailouts. But now that Trump is using tariff revenue to give it to you for relief, now they're clutching their pearls. So here's what they don't want you to understand. Trump's doing both. He's sending checks to working Americans and using record high tariff revenue to reduce the deficit, fund the economy without printing money, and force China, the EU, and other trade abusers to finally pay their fair share. This isn't Bidenomics. This is smart, patriotic, debt-conscious economic warfare, with the American people finally on the receiving end of the victory. And so this is exactly why the globalist class is panicking, because they know that they've lost the narrative, which brings us to the next part. So now that the checks are coming, now that the economy isn't collapsing, now that Trump looks stronger than ever, the left has a new tactic. They're trying to rebrand the Trump checks as a crisis response. Americans are still struggling. These rebates are needed to survive Trump's economy. Give me a break, guys. Anybody buying that? Just a few months ago, they were saying that tariffs were evil, racist, and catastrophic. Now they're trying to frame the results as if they were part of the plan. They can't even admit the truth that Trump's plan worked, that the working class is finally getting paid, and that their fear mongering has completely imploded. Even Wall Street is walking it back because the numbers just don't lie. And here's the good news. While they scramble to twist the story, you're holding the proof in your hands. Now, of course, I want to answer the question a lot of you guys have been asking. Well, what happened to the Doge dividend checks? Well, the Doge dividend checks didn't go away. They just evolved. And so let's address what many of you guys have been asking in the comments. What happened to the Doge dividend checks? You remember the idea floated back when Elon Musk and the Doge team were uncovering waste and clawing back billions of dollars? Well, the Doge dividend may still be in play, but right now, you got something just as powerful, maybe even more powerful. It's called the Tariff Tip. And it's not just some meme. It's a bill-backed, revenue-funded, American-made rebate program signed, sealed, and supported by President Trump himself. No crypto conversions, no waiting on blockchain votes, just good old-fashioned money in your pocket, funded by foreign tariffs, not federal debt. The same critics who mocked Trump for floating these ideas, they're the same ones who said, oh, that'll never happen. They're now quietly cashing the same $600 checks that they call dangerous. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. And guess what? This is just the start, because if tariff revenue keeps smashing records, the bill allows for even bigger payments next time around. So we're not talking about charity here. We're talking about earned dividends from economic dominance. And that kind of brings us to the very moment that we've been kind of building towards since the very second that I started this video with you guys. So I want to kind of recap just a little bit. Excuse me. The experts said Trump's economy would crash. They said his tariffs would backfire. They said that you would be broke by July. Well, it's the end of July. It's almost August. GDP is up. Inflation is down. Markets are breaking records. And you just got paid $600 per person for standing by a leader who never stopped fighting for you. Now, this isn't just about policy. This is about economics. It's about vindication, because everything that they said couldn't happen is happening right now. And like every warning that they gave you turned out to be projection, distraction, and just like promoting fear. President Trump has proven the experts wrong, outflanked the globalists, and turned foreign tariffs into a windfall for working Americans. And that's why they're still trying to spin it. Because if they admit that Trump was right, then they lose all control. But they can't spin your bank account. They can't rewrite reality. And they definitely can't cancel the check with your name on it, right? So if you're proud of this moment, if you're glad to finally see a president put you first, smash the like button and drop a $600 in the comments right now, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so that you never miss what's coming next. Because if you think this check shut them up, wait until you see what Trump's planning next. Now, YouTube thinks you're going to love that video that just popped up on your screen right there. Click it right now, and let's keep this momentum going. Trump was right. The people were right. And the recession, it was a total lie. I'll see you guys on the other side.